Now let's talk about decorators for functions. So you know what a function is, right? You're gonna create a block of code that's gonna do something, and the idea is that you're gonna reuse that multiple times throughout your code. So you'll call it in different places, and something will occur. Data will be put into a database, data will get pulled out of a database, that type of deal. Well, the interesting thing about decorators is decorators are functions that essentially you can attach onto other functions. So let's say you want to do something like sanitize data, right? So let's say you have one function and that function takes input from the user and it dumps it into a database. And you have another function that takes input from the user and let's say sends off an SMS email, right? So those are two different functions. But one of the things you might be thinking about is like, well, but I want to sanitize the data that's coming in to my functions, right? Maybe I want to make it lowercase, or maybe I want to make sure the wrong characters aren't in there, that type of thing. So I want to create a function that sanitizes data, but then I want to kind of attach that to any place where a user might be inputting data. Well, that's what you can use a decorator for. You use the @ symbol and then the name of the decorator function that you've created. And basically what will happen is any of the variable values that are coming into either of those functions will go through that decorator function first. It'll get sanitized, validated, whatever you do. Then it will be handed off to the function that's actually called, and that clean data will be able to be sent off. Or something you might be thinking about is, what if you want some kind of logging system, right? So again, anytime anybody touches the database for any reason, you want that logged so you know what the hell's going on. But it might be a bit of a complicated logging process and connecting to the server, again, validating some data, doing that kind of thing. So you only want to write that kind of logging function once. Well, what you can do is you can create that logging function as a decorator. So basically you create it as a function. You then add it as a decorator to any function you want the logging functionality connected to. And now you have the power of one single function for logging, but you're able to connect that to multiple different functions. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about decorators. So this is an example of using a decorator. Let's read this from bottom to top because that way it'll make a little bit more sense. We call the function down here, the function's here, and then the decorator's up here. So if we go bottom to top, it's easier to read. So down here, what we're going to do is we're going to call the say hello function, and we're going to say hello with a name. We have a variable name here, name equals Bob. So name is going to be submitted to say hello. Now if we take a look at this, we have the say hello function here. Define say hello, the name that comes in, and then we're going to print out hello, and then whatever the value of the name is. But let's say we want to clean that up, right? So we have a decorator here. So the decorator is the function, and we're going to add functionality to this function by using the decorator. So we define my underscore decorator, right? So this can be any name. So the way you add the decorator is doing an @ symbol and then whatever the decorator name is. So define whatever that name is, and then we do parentheses and we put func here. The reason is the function is the variable value that is going into the decorator, right? The entire function itself. Taking the function, putting it in the decorator. Under this, you're then going to have a wrapper function, right? Def wrapper, and then here you're going to have the name of the variable or variables that are coming in from the function itself. So the entire function is the variable, the value here, and then the actual variable is the value in the wrapper. Now the interesting thing here is when we have this wrapper, we can trigger an event to happen before the function fires off, and we can do something after the function fires off too. So before we run the function here, what we're going to do is we're going to print using an F string and func.name. So the function that came in, underscore underscore name underscore underscore, what this is going to do is it's going to tell us what function we are currently working with. So again, this might be good for a log file, where if you're dealing with multiple functions with a decorator and you're logging what's happening, knowing literally what function is trying to do what, right? And then we do hyphen hyphen, and then we do the value for name. So it's going to be the function name of say hello, hyphen hyphen Bob, in all uppercase letters. So I'm using this right here as a troubleshooting routine so I can make sure my text is being modified how it's supposed to. Now the name has come in. The name has come in, and we're going to take name, and name is going to equal name.lower. So we're going to use the lowercase method to take Bob from all uppercase down to lowercase. Basically, we're sanitizing the data sort of here, just an example, right? So we're taking from all uppercase down to lowercase, and then we're assigning that value back to name. This is where we then call function. So the function that came in, we're just using func and that value name. So now this will get triggered. So now it'll say print hello, and the name will be lowercase. It'll be B-O-B, all lowercase. And so that is how we were able to use this decorator in order to change the value that's coming into this particular function. Then at the end, again, just from a troubleshooting routine, we'll do print function name again, hyphen, hyphen, and name as it now is. It should be lowercase. You can kind of validate that's how it's supposed to be. And then we are going to return wrapper. So basically this is going to get returned and everything should work for us. If we then run this now, what we can see is it then says, again, the name of the function, say hello hyphen hyphen Bob, uppercase. The function then fires off, hello Bob, and then down here we have the function name with the name, say hello hyphen hyphen Bob, all in lowercase. And so this is how we can use a decorator to do something like sanitize the data that is going into a function. Now why this is so useful is once we have this decorator created, again, we're sanitizing the data in some way, we can add this decorator, as I've said, to multiple different functions, right? So we have the decorator up here exactly like I just showed you. It'll print out the function name and the name. It'll turn the name to lowercase. It'll fire off the function. It will then say the function name and what the name currently looks like, and that will all close out. And so if we shrink this, we can now see that I have a say hello function and I have an email show function. So again, let's say you're getting somebody's name and then you're getting an email address. You're going to process them differently for some reason. So name equals Bob, all uppercase. Email equals bob@aol.com. And I just kind of mixed that up, right? Just so you can see that. So at my decorator, say hello name, and then at my decorator, define email underscore show email, and then print email and whatever the current email is. Then we're going to fire off say hello with the name, and then we're going to do email show with the email. So when we run this, we can see the script runs, right? So say hello, that's the function, Bob uppercase. Then say hello is actually run. Say hello, and then Bob is all lowercase. We do email show, and we see bob@aol.com. It's all wackadoodle. Then we see email, again, bob@aol.com. That's all lowercase. And then we see the function here, email show, bob@aol.com, all lowercase, so we can troubleshoot to make sure that the variables are being sanitized in the way that they're supposed to. And so this is what makes these decorators so valuable and so powerful, is that you're able to attach this additional functionality to a function. So again, the big thing to be thinking about in the programming world is, again, copy-paste. Copy-paste is your friend. If you can write it once and paste it 1,000 other places, that's what we get paid for. We don't get paid for reinventing the wheel. So the valuable thing with functions, right? The idea with a function is you create a block of reusable code. Well, if you've got blocks of reusable code, what's even more amazing is if you can add additional blocks of reusable code, again, to kind of modify and extend the functionality of those functions, again, for logging things, for sanitizing data, basically anything where you may want to reuse the exact same types of processing on your functions going into the future. So that's the idea around decorators. Where we see decorators a lot in Silicon Dojo is when we're using web app frameworks. So whether we're using Bottle or whether we're using Django, basically for the web app frameworks that create a web application platform for you. You can use Python to create your own web app. There are decorators there, and there's generally decorators for @route or @post or @get. And what those do is you create a function for like how you want a web page to be displayed. right? So you pull variable values in from a database, you process them, whatever else, and that's going to be in your function. Well, to make that function actually be presented as a web page, you add the @post decorator above the function, and that now says that, I'm sorry, the @route decorator above the function, and then that says this is supposed to be a web page. So if somebody goes to this particular route, run it as if it's a web page. If you have the @post decorator above a block of a function, basically that says if somebody does a post to send data to that function, then basically the @post will do some additional things so that function is able to take that data in. So normally when we're looking at decorators, we're going to be looking at these with the web app frameworks, but they are a useful thing in any place with logging, sanitizing data, any kind of task that you're going to have to replicate multiple times, even basically to modify things like functions.